You've heard it a million times. Her past doesn't matter. She can sleep with whoever she wants. But what if I told you biology disagrees? Not morally, not emotionally, but scientifically, it changes everything. Nature doesn't care about your opinions, but it always rewards the selective and punishes the reckless. When a woman sleeps with a man, her brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This powerful chemical is nature's way of encouraging trust, closeness, and emotional connection. It's the same hormone that floods her system during moments of deep affection like cuddling or even sharing a heartfelt conversation. Oxytocin is what makes intimacy feel meaningful, what turns a physical act into something emotionally significant. It's why, after sex, many women feel a strong urge to be close, to touch, to talk, to connect. This isn't just romance, it's biology at work, quietly weaving invisible threads between two people. But here's the catch. The more men she sleeps with, the weaker that bond becomes. Each new partner chips away at the intensity of that chemical connection. Over time, the brain adapts, and the emotional impact of sex starts to fade. What once felt electric and irreplaceable can begin to feel routine, even empty. The sense of closeness that once followed intimacy may be replaced by a growing sense of distance or detachment. It's not about judgment, it's about how our brains are wired to protect us from emotional overload. Oxytocin isn't just released during sex, it's the same hormone that surges when a mother holds her newborn baby for the first time. This is the chemical foundation of the deepest bonds we form in life, the ones that make us feel safe, loved, and connected. It's nature's way of ensuring that mothers nurture their children, and that partners stay close enough to build something lasting together. But with each new partner, that chemical attachment dulls. The brain, in an effort to protect itself from repeated emotional highs and lows, starts to turn down the volume on oxytocin's effects. What once felt like a powerful, almost magical connection can become muted. The thrill of new intimacy is replaced by a sense of sameness, and the emotional stakes of sex begin to disappear. Nature built her to connect deeply, to form bonds that last. For most of human history, these bonds were essential for survival, for raising children, for building families, for creating communities. The ability to attach, to love, to stay loyal is written into her very biology. It's a gift, but also a vulnerability. But after enough bodies, something changes. The brain, once so eager to bond, stops attaching altogether. Sex becomes casual, stripped of its emotional weight. Loyalty, once a natural response, becomes optional, a choice, rather than a feeling. The lines between connection and detachment blur, and what was once sacred can start to feel transactional. So if you see her calm, don't mistake it for connection. That spark, that deep bond, may have burned out long ago, replaced by a quiet emptiness where love used to live. Here's the part nobody talks about, something that's quietly happening beneath the surface every day in millions of lives. It's a secret that's woven into the fabric of our biology, yet rarely spoken aloud. When two people come together, it's not just an emotional or physical connection. There's something deeper, something that lingers long after the moment has passed. Every man who's ejaculated inside a woman leaves behind more than just a memory. He leaves a literal part of himself, tiny fragments of his DNA, carried in his sperm, that can persist inside her body. This isn't just a poetic idea or a metaphor, it's a biological reality, one that science is only beginning to fully understand. This phenomenon is called Microchimerism. It means that after sexual intercourse, some of his genetic material can actually stay inside her, sometimes for years, sometimes for life. His DNA can be found in her brain, her blood, and even in her organs. It's as if a small part of him continues to live on within her, quietly influencing her biology in ways we're only starting to uncover. Scientists have discovered male DNA in women who have never even had sons, suggesting that these genetic traces come from past partners. Researchers are still exploring what this means for women's health, immunity, and even their emotional lives. But the evidence is clear. The exchange is real, and it's far more intimate than we ever imagined. So, a woman may carry fragments of every man she's ever been with. These microscopic pieces of DNA become a part of her, woven into her very being. It's a reminder that our bodies remember, even when our minds move on. The connections we make can leave a lasting imprint, one that's written in our cells. When you kiss her, when you hold her close, you're connecting with a woman who carries the echoes of her past. But that's also what makes her unique. She is a tapestry of experiences, memories, and yes, even the DNA of those she's loved before. And when you build a life with her, you're not just building with her present self, but with all the moments and connections that have shaped her. You're choosing to embrace her whole story, the visible and the invisible, the known and the unknown. You might think you're the only one in her world, but biology tells a different story. In a way, we're all carrying pieces of the people we've loved. And that's a truth both haunting and beautiful. Women are wired for hypergamy, seeking the top-tier male. But when she's had 10, 20, 30 bodies, she's already tasted the top. She doesn't bond with you, she compares you. But you'll never measure up to the highlight reel in her mind. She's mentally replaying the best sex, the richest man, the smoothest talker. But she'll never tell you that. When we talk about men's deepest fears in relationships, most people assume it's all about being rejected or not being good enough. But, if you look a little deeper, you'll find that a man's primal fear isn't really about rejection at all. It's something much more ancient, something that's been hardwired into the male psyche for thousands of years. At its core, the real fear is about being tricked into raising another man's child. Imagine investing your time, your resources, your love, only to discover that the child you've been caring for isn't actually yours. This isn't just a modern anxiety, it's a fear that's been passed down from our earliest ancestors, when paternity was never guaranteed. Evolution shaped men to be vigilant about their legacy. Their instincts push them to protect their own genetic line, to ensure that their efforts go toward raising their own offspring. This drive is so powerful that it influences how men view relationships, trust, and even attraction. So, when a woman's romantic history seems unpredictable or her loyalty is in question, that ancient risk detector in a man's brain goes into overdrive. The more uncertain her past, the greater the fear that he could end up investing in a child that isn't his. It's not about judging her, it's about a deep-rooted instinct to avoid being deceived. That's why loyalty and trust are so important to men, both now and throughout history. Men are naturally drawn to partners who show commitment and reliability because it reassures them that their investment, emotional and otherwise, is safe. This isn't about insecurity or being possessive. It's about a biological caution that's been built into men over countless generations. Their brains are wired to be careful, to look for signs of loyalty, and to avoid situations where they might be taken advantage of. So if you ever find yourself worrying about your partner's past, or feeling uneasy about her body count, know that you're not crazy or paranoid. You're simply responding to instincts that have helped men survive and thrive for millennia. In fact, in a world where trust is everything, it would be far stranger not to care at all. Men's caution isn't a flaw, it's a feature designed by evolution to protect what matters most. They scream, "Don't judge women," but the thing is, nature always judges. Oxytocin still fires, DNA still embeds, but TikTok thinks evolution is outdated. You just can't override instincts with Instagram quotes, but you know, millions try, and fail. Her body count isn't just a number, it's actually a history of bonds, broken and buried. A log of DNA she can't delete. You don't have to believe it, but her biology does. Oxytocin doesn't lie, microchimerism doesn't forget, but most men never learn this until it's too late. Subscribe for truth most men will never hear, and hey, don't forget to like, comment, and share.